The meeting will come to order. The time is now 5:32 on Monday, June 26, 2023. This is a regular monthly meeting of the District of Columbia Commission on the Arts and Humanities. My name is Reggie Chairperson of the Commission. I'm wearing a white shirt. I'm an African-American man. I will now call the roll. When you hear your name, please answer present. Stacy.
Present.
Cora.
Present.
Maggie.
Present.
Quanice. Natalie. Kymber. Mariah.
Present.
Carla. Hector.
Present.
Gretchen.
Present.
And I am present. The quorum is present. This is a meeting of a public body held in open session in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. Notice of the meeting was posted to the DC Register on the Commission's website, dcarts.dc.gov, and on the DC Office of Open Government Central Meetings calendar. The meeting is being conducted in a hybrid format. A number of us are at the Commission's office building in Washington, D.C. at 200 I Street Southeast, and a few are joining remotely using the Cisco Webex virtual meeting platform. The meeting is being live streamed to the Commission's YouTube channel. An electronic recording of the meeting will be available for viewing online following the conclusion of the meeting. I'll now read the land acknowledgement. Every community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed their hopes, dreams, and energy to make it the history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will, some were drawn to leave their distant homes in hope of a better life, and some have lived in this land for more generations than can be counted. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. We begin this effort to acknowledge what has been buried by honoring the truth. We stand on the ancestral lands of the Nacotchtank and Piscataway people. We pay respects to the elders past and present. Please take a moment to consider the many legacies of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that bring us together here today. And please join us in uncovering such truths at any and all public events and to use such truths to guide the legacy of this Arts Commission. Is there any objection to the agenda that was previously circulated? Hearing no objection, the agenda stands as adopted. So, good evening and welcome to everyone. We're officially in summer now, as I think everyone who's been outside today can attest. As I'm sure you're aware, the DC Council has concluded its work on the district's budget for the fiscal year 2024. Director Myers will speak more on the specifics of what the implications are for this agency in his report. But let me state that while the result is not exactly what we had hoped for, it is better than what was originally proposed. I'd like to extend my appreciation to a number of my fellow commissioners for their assistance in advocating changes to the original proposal and mobilizing community members as well. To Director Myers and the staff for pulling the data together to make our case to the council. And my appreciation to the council for being willing to hear us out. This is one of the first instances this agency has had the opportunity to directly advocate to the council. In the past, we would go through the mayor's office and not necessarily have the chance to speak for ourselves. So that's significant. As I said previously, this agency will work with whatever amount of money we're given, but we will do it in a manner that is fair, equitable, and transparent. And I believe the final version of the Budget Support Act will in fact allow us to do that. Now, I'd like to take a moment to recognize and congratulate our outgoing commissioners, Maggie FitzPatrick, Quanice Floyd, Stacey Lee Banks, and Mariah Rooney, whose terms will be ending on June 30th, sadly. They have served this commission in the district each for a number of years on a complete volunteer basis. Commissioners receive no compensation for the work they do. Mariah and Stacey have been on the commission since 2015, two of our longest serving commissioners. Mariah lent her considerable experience of more than 25 years working in fine arts to the agency. Stacey brought her deep family history as a native Washingtonian, which is invaluable in the work of the agency. Quanice has been a commissioner since 2018 and served as the first chair of the IDEA committee and was responsible for creating the land acknowledgement that we read at each meeting. Maggie joined in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic, but has since served as chair of the Public Arts Committee as well as vice chair of the commission. In recognition of their service, I'd like to present each of them with a small token of our appreciation, a print from local artist Michael Crosset, whom we have several of his pieces in our art bank collection. And so here we have the pieces, and on the back there's a card that says, "With our deepest appreciation for your years of service to the creative life of the District of Columbia." So let's start with Maggie.
Thank you. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You want
Thank
blue
you.
to match the
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah. Gorgeous. Thank you.
And Mariah. So I have to give credit to Mariah for this because when we had the last plastic party, and I said, I want to do something for them, and she came up with this brainchild, so you got what you wanted. You did that on purpose. Thank you to Stacy. Thank you. And we'll get Quanice's hers as well. So, as is our normal custom, we'd like to hear from the artists and understand why we're here. So for tonight's presentation, we have joined by Makeda Smith, who is one of our FY23 projects, events, and festivals grantees to discuss the Celebrate Juneteenth Festival. Ms. Smith, are you with us?
Yes. Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, I was going to introduce Makeda. Makeda Smith has been awarded the FY 2022 Recovery and Relief Grant and a FY 2023 Projects, Event, and Festivals Grant. She is talented and an African-American ceramicist whose unique artistic voice is deeply rooted in functionality, simplicity, and use. Her current work explores ceramic art and for its wearable and daily use. Smith's artistic process is a delicate dance between craftsmanship and intuitive exploration. She combines traditional ceramic techniques with her own innovative approaches, often incorporating intricate hand-carved patterns, vibrant glazes, and rich textures in her work. Each piece she creates bears the mark of her meticulous attention to detail and a profound understanding of the material's expressive potential. Makeda received her bachelor's degree at Stetson University, where she minored in studio art, and she continued her education at Lesley University, where she mastered in early childhood education. She moved to DC in 2015 and became a licensed teacher and artist. In 2019, she established CO Ceramics, and it's a creative brand with handcrafted small batch ceramic art that ranges in function and use. Since the creation of this brand, she has co-hosted community events and festivals, participated in local markets and juried shows, and has established an artist studio on the Brooklyn Arts Walk. Celebrate Juneteenth was a community event that is free and open to the public, and it occurred on June 19th. Celebrate Juneteenth provides an educational component to teach the public about Juneteenth as a federal holiday and its importance to American history. Makeda?
All right. Thank you for that lovely introduction. Hi, everyone. It's so nice to get an opportunity to speak with you all this evening. As you know, I am a ceramic artist. That was in my bio, and I've been doing that for about almost 12 years now. It is something I'm really passionate about and that I really love to do. But we're not going to talk about my ceramic work today. Today, we're going to talk about Celebrate Juneteenth, which I'm really excited to share with you all today. So, Celebrate Juneteenth. This is the second time we've had this event. And this time it was even bigger and better because we had the support of you all. Celebrate Juneteenth was held on the Brooklyn Arts Walk on the 18th of June. So it was also Father's Day, which was really awesome. And you can go ahead and skip the introduction slide. We had a lovely, lovely range of different artists that we had come out. We had some educational components where we had speakers come and talk to the public about various different things, which I'll get into in just a moment. We also had a Black-owned business marketplace. So we had a lot of different things going on. This event, we had over 600 people attend. That's what we got on our clicker. So we had a very excellent turnout. I was one of the co-hosts of the event. I also did this event with Soyeni George, who is also a local maker and artist. She runs the business Yeni Benny Baby, and she is also here on the Brooklyn Arts Walk. All right, we can go to the next slide. All right, so what is Celebrate Juneteenth? So our festival was about celebrating Black freedom, culture, and our liberation ultimately. So some of the ways that we decided that we wanted to celebrate this is by collective economics, by having a Black owned business marketplace, through cultural educational programming. So we had Levita Monday come out and talk about the significance of Juneteenth and the Juneteenth flag. And we also had some cultural and artistic performances. So we had Jabari X Zoom, who I'll speak about in just a moment, who is a percussionist, come out and speak to us. He worked on Black Panther, which was really cool. So he has some pretty notable work that he's done. We had an artist come out and do some art relaxation and release. So what that looks like was having a painting where everyone in the community could collectively add to this painting. So it was really beautiful and came out really well. And that was done by Melanie Royster of Melroy Art. And we also had a lovely DJ who came out. So let's talk a little bit more about some of the cultural and educational programming. So as I said before, we had Miss Levita Mundy come out. She's a native of Memphis, Tennessee, but she's lived in DC since 1993. So the year I was born. So she's been here for over 30 years. And she did the symbolism of the Juneteenth flag. And she spoke about that with children from ages 6 and up, which was really cool. And is especially really nice and informative to people who have not been introduced to Juneteenth. So I am originally from the South. I am a Floridian through and through. So it was really cool being able to hear Miss Levita talk about the significance of Juneteenth from an educational perspective, and being able to have other people learn about it and be really consumed and really interested was really excellent. So I really personally really enjoyed that piece. We also had the exploration of and discussion of the djembe drum, and then we had Jabari Exum talk about some of the choreography that was done in Black Panthers, both 1 and 2, which is really cool. He's a percussionist, vocalist. We had a section on maternal and postpartum care in the Black community with Samantha Griffin. And then we also had a reading of Bubble Sea by the author Danielle Marietta. And then she talked about her journey of being a children's author and illustrator, which is excellent. And then we can go ahead and skip over to some of the artists that we're going to talk about. So, right here we have Miss Monique, also known as Mo Money, No Problems. She's a DJ. She's from DC. She spent most of her childhood exploring different communities around the world. So she's a traveler through and through. She has a really cool, eclectic music taste and sound. This is the second year that she has DJ'd for our event. She's amazing. You should check her out. Her Instagram is Life of Ma'am. But she DJ'd the entire event, and she also was our master of ceremony. You can skip to the next artist. We had Koyoba Dance Theater come out, which was really awesome, and they opened the event for us. They did a drum procession and also dance. You might have heard of Koyoba. They are right around the corner at Dance Place. And we also had the Moko Jumbi, which is the stilt walker. So he's like the West African god of retribution. And so he basically, banishes the evil that is around. So he came and he danced and interacted with the public. Some of the kids were a little bit afraid of him, but some were really interested and really liked it. But the procession was very beautiful, and it was really amazing to see the talent that we have just literally right down the street from the artist studio. You can go to the next slide. And then we have Jabari, which I've already gushed about a little bit earlier, but he is a percussionist. He is an actor. He just is overall incredibly talented. As I said before, he's worked with Black Panther on both 1 and 2 with doing music, but also doing choreography for some of the drum processions that you can see in the movies. He sat and did a talk, and then he also did a bit of a performance, which was really excellent to see, and people were very engaged and really enjoyed this part. And then lastly, who is not on the slides, but we had Melanie Royster, who did the painting. So that was a really amazing part where we had the community just come and we're painting and relaxing together. And the children really especially like this part. So that was a really fun way to engage the younger audience, but also their parents, and there were even some grandparents that were able to, get involved. So it was really nice to see multi-generational use of this arts space, the arts tent, where we had the art, therapeutic art painting that we did all together. All right, you can move forward. And then lastly, we had our Black owned marketplace. So you might recognize Ballawick. His clothing, his t-shirts are all over the district. We had Truly Bonded. We had about, I would like to say, maybe about 16 different vendors of local artists. We have Down to Earth Pottery, that's you can see here on the right hand side. So we had lots of different artists and local makers participate in the Black owned marketplace. You can go to the next slide. And just to list a few of some of the other people, we had All Very Goods, which is Alma Schulman. She does a lot of graphic design. Honey Glow. We had Manor Rhodes, who does really amazing soaps. They smell delectable. She's really talented at what they do. And they're also very beautiful. So both functional and very gorgeous. We had L Blings and Black Squirrel Company. So lots of different local makers and artisans from the DC community that participated, all Black owned. And then you can go to the last slide. So so that concludes my talk about Celebrate Juneteenth. If you have any questions, I'm happy to take any questions about them before we move forward, in the rest of the meeting. But also, some contacts. We love to stay in touch. Please follow me on Instagram or take my email down. My business is Sayo Ceramics. I'm here on the Arts Walk in Brookland. You're always welcome to come by and visit. I'm open on Saturdays. So just come on by. We have a lovely farmers market and lots of amazing artists to come and visit. But also celebrate Juneteenth. We want to continue this event and make it even bigger and better each year, and being able to include more artists and include more of the community in these types of programming. So celebrate Juneteenth. Our website is www.celebratejuneteenthdc.com. Our Instagram is celebrate_Juneteenth, and our email is juneteenth.artswalk@gmail.com. So please stay in contact and in touch with us. And thank you so much for the funding and the support. We could not have been able to do this event and make it even better without the support of the commission. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Hard work and personal connection. So I've celebrated Juneteenth all my life, like some of the newcomers on the topic, but that's very important. So thank you for your hard work. Glad that we can support you.
Thank you.
We have a number of individuals signed up for our public comment this evening. We welcome your comments, which are very important to us. Note that all comments are limited to 3 minutes. I may have to play timekeeper to keep it to 3 minutes. Please address your remarks to me, the chair, I'll note that we will not be entering into dialogue at this time. The purpose for this agenda item is for you, the public, to inform us, the commission, about your views. If members of the public have factual questions, staff would be glad to follow up via email. So when I call your name, you may begin your comments. Starting with, is Yasmin Paraskevas here?
I'm here.
Great, please.
Thank you, Chair, Commissioner, and thank you, Patrick. I can turn my video on. Sorry, guys. For putting all this together. This is my third time speaking. The purpose of my joining is to talk a little bit about my work and share information on an event that I'm producing in 2024. So a little bit about Yas Media. I am a small and Hispanic woman-owned business. It would be ideal to be able to continue to create boutique-sized cultural events that appeal to so many audiences and raise awareness and funds for charities in the DC area. Charities that we have raised money for in the past include the DC Public Education Fund, Whitman Walker Foundation, among others. I'm extremely grateful for any support that I've gotten from 202 Creates in the past, but I would like to continue putting these events together. It's just been a little bit of a struggle. So the purpose of my being here again is because in case there's opportunity for collaboration or or other parties that are interested in collaborating in general with Yas Media coming soon, then it would be great to be notified in some way. So yeah, one event that we just finished was a spring fashion fundraiser gala, and similar to Makeda's event that she talked about, it had multiple activations. So it wasn't just, one thing. It wasn't just performances. It also included vendors. It also included speakers. And of course, it had a fundraising component as well. The event that I'm planning for 2024 is called the International Women's Day Agora. And what it is an event that aims again to include vendor space. Also, it'll include a portion for comments to be made by women in the arts or in general in the small business community in the DC area. And of course, there will be a reception and a live painting as well. So I drew on my own roots, which are in Greece, for the concept of this event. And I've already shared it with our friends at the Embassy of Greece. It would include, so it would be inspired by, the ancient marketplace, the Agora. The Agora in ancient times was a place where women were actually allowed to leave their homes and socialize with people outside of their family. So the Agora served as an opportunity for the women of Athens to participate in their social culture. And so that's the inspiration for the event. It would be a one-day ticketed event celebrating small women-owned businesses in the DC area, entrepreneurs, and creatives during the week of Friday, March 8th, which is International Women's Day. This event would benefit DC Women's Shelter, DC Central Kitchen, or another. Those are some of the charities or ideas of the charities that I have in mind. Vendors would be made up of international women small business owners. There would be a live painting by a female artist, and I forgot to mention also live piano by a female pianist. We hope to have brief talks by motivational women in the small business space or the DC diplomatic community. A lot of the embassies in DC are headed by female ambassadors or have other women that are in similar positions. As well as members of the arts and small business community, as I mentioned. Sticking to the theme, we would like to give it a little bit of Mediterranean touch. So light fare would be inspired by the Mediterranean, and the aesthetic would also be bright with colors similar to a Mediterranean aesthetic. So that's what I wanted to talk about today, basically an upcoming event in 2024, and to talk a little bit about the events that I've done in the past, in the hopes that there are opportunities to collaborate with other members of the community going forward. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you for the heads up and advance notice, and keep up the good work. Thank you. Our next speaker, Alberta Paul, Penn Branch Community Association, Inc. Ms. Paul?
It took me a second to find every button here, turning on my video. And oh, there I am. Here I am. First, I want to thank the young lady who did her presentation and would hope that she continues to get support, but I would like to suggest a rotation of her event across wards via rec centers and or libraries as the whole site. But again, I thank her for all her efforts and what she has done. As a former educator, I'm always impressed with what our young people can do, whether they're artists, musicians, or otherwise. My comments focus on trying to continue having a strong presence of a 9/11 park in my ward. I live in Ward 7. I'm a native Washingtonian. And what we have been trying to do is enhance the park. And we have moved forward and partnered with Pepco, for example, this year to install electricity in the park so that the park can not only serve as a place of remembrance, but can be used for community activities such as our Safe Community Day, which we celebrate with MPD the first Tuesday in August every year. But more importantly, we do a celebration of all of the churches in Ward 7 at the park annually, and we partner with DPR and invite all of the youth from high school choirs to be participants. We're trying to see if we can encourage or engage artists to do pavers that list the young kids that died on 9/11, who I'm sure many or some of you remember were on their first airplane ride. We promised never to forget. We started this park and it's in beautiful condition, but we just need to expand it so we can have a flagpole that has both the U.S. flag and the district flag flying at all times, and backup flags for when they wear out in a 2-year rotation. We've been trying to get artists to do pavers that etch the names of the students, the pilot. We discovered by accident in our 6th year that the pilot that was on American Airlines Flight 90 that day was born, raised, and still was living in the District of Columbia at the time of that horrible crash into the Pentagon. I think I shared the letter that came from his family, who comes every year when we do it on 9/11, regardless of what day of the week, who come out to celebrate with us and intermingle with a very multicultural community. And we're trying to just continue to enhance it. We thought at one point we could put miniature statues of the children with the 4 adults that were on the plane, the 2 teachers, the assistant principal, and 1 principal, and then have the pilot stand on the other side of a bench. We're going to continue this effort to get there, but we wanted your organization to be aware that there is still standing a very active 9/11 park in the District of Columbia, maintained by a community. And we'll be celebrating September the 11th this year, as well as doing our Community Safe Day in that park on the it's the first Tuesday of August. Any questions?
Yeah, those kids, didn't they go to?
I can barely hear you.
I asked, did the children go to Lecky Elementary School?
Yes,
Yeah, they were in Ward 8. Yeah, that school, there, the principal and about 3 kids have died in that wreck.
yes, and one of the assistant principals from Bertie Bacchus
That's right.
with 2 kids, and the third school location was on 14th and Good Hope Road, and there was 2 students from there and a parent.
Good. Well, we thank you. Thank you very much.
All right.
Sarah Morgan. Ms. Morgan? She's not here. We can come back. George Jackson, DC Black Chamber of Commerce. Not there. Sorry. George Koch. No, he's not. George Koch. He backed out. It's my understanding since the roll call, a number of other commissioners have joined us, Natalie, Kymber, and Carla. So welcome and thank you for being here. Is Quanice there as well? I think Quanice there. We're missing. So why don't we go to the director's report?
All right. Well, thank you very much. And again, what I think of Juneteenth is something I've celebrated my entire life. So it's always fun to see people catch up to it.
You notice we have to remind you all this. Juneteenth was ours for a long time. Now it's everyone's.
And so I will read off my report. My report has been given to all of our commissioners. For those in the room who are looking at the screen, I believe the Webex, everything is running in real time. There may be a slight delay inside the room. My first point deals with the multi-city music census cohort. Washington, D.C. through CAH will be joining the cohort of 25 cities across the country as part of the first of its kind music census. Other participating cities include Austin, Sacramento, Cleveland, Chattanooga, Greensboro, Charlotte, and Nashville. The census will run from June 2023 through June 2024. CAH has traditionally based its policies and programs on largely anecdotal data derived from our constituents. While anecdotal data does have its uses, it may not always present a complete picture. This census represents an opportunity for both this agency and the city to access localized arts data that is both measurable and actionable and gives us more complete understanding of the district's art ecosystem. I'll also say that we're using this model as it will inform how we begin to do a census of all the other disciplines as well. So next we would then do theater, then dance, then we would examine the humanities. From there, we would also do fashion and then film, television, and lastly, design, which would be public art. The goal is over the course of 2 years to be able to have some accurate data on what the arts actually look like here in Washington. The disparities, where the margins actually are, where money's going, what the yield of investment is on what is given to us, what we give our grantees. Second, the Recording Academy, dealing with the DC chapter partnership. CAH will be partnering with the Washington, DC chapter of the Recording Academy, producers of the Grammy Awards. Through the partnership, CAH intends to make educational and professional development opportunities available for our constituents, our grantees, at the same time raising the agency's profile, visibility in the arts and culture sector. And through this partnership, as our grants become available, all of the DC members of the Recording Academy will be having access, that the grants are open, as well as information about our agency will be available through the Grammy website, as well as the professional development opportunities for artists. Our grantees will also have access to those as well as I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, 2 of our grantees may have an opportunity to attend the Grammys. this coming year, if as a lottery type of situation. As far as point number 3, CAH has been in active conversation with Howard University and revised the updated the MOU detailing the terms of the folk art partnership. We anticipate full execution of the MOU by the end of July. Background, and this is just for some context for those who are listening and those in the room. The NEA now requires all state art agencies to utilize a portion of their annual federal partnership grant to support folk traditional arts within their respective jurisdiction. This support can be provided in various ways, such as an agency staff position specializing in the field, a grant or other agency program or initiatives, or partnering with nonprofit or university to develop a run a folk art program. CAH has opted to partner with Howard University. And to further speak on this, Terrell, who is not with us this evening, has been tasked with taking the lead on this this past week. Terrell, Brian, David Markey, and myself and David Martinez met about efforts going forward when it comes to folk life. And Terrell has had a meeting with Mid-Atlantic Arts to understand how Mid-Atlantic Arts is working with other state art agencies in our region with folk life as well. Number 4, District Pride. CAH has partnered again with the Mayor's Office of LGBTQ Affairs to produce the annual District of Pride event at the Lincoln Theater on Thursday, June 29th. The event showcases local LGBTQ artists and has been a collaboration between CAH and the LGBTQA community since its beginning in 2018. That just from a space of relation, this past year we tabled for the first time at the Pride Festival. Jean was there, Ashley was there, I was there. We ran out of all of our fun stuff by 5 p.m. We had nothing else to offer anyone else. And that was a testament. The next day, as on the Metro, I saw 2 of our water bottles. So that was a good thing. It served the purpose. I think it's important that our visibility during this time particularly is present. We are having, after I've spoken to leaders from other state art agencies, we are very fortunate in the District of Columbia to have these type of opportunities to partner, whereas they do not. And I would like to really specify our Black and brown trans sisters and brothers who are really having a difficult time now. It's important that we find ways specifically to support them and raise that visibility. Their lives literally depend on it. And that's very important, especially here in the District of Columbia, as this even is a space of being welcoming, being affirming. Even here, their lives are in great danger. And I want us to really pay attention to that. Point number 5, Labor Day Weekend Music Festival. CAH will again present its free Labor Day Weekend Music Festival for the first time since 2019. This is important to me, I would say, because this festival was a result of a negotiation of advocacy from people in the community, and Jeff helped us make this a possibility some years ago. The 4-night event themed 50 years of hip hop, 50 years of home rule would take place September 1st to 4th at the historic Lincoln Theater. A lineup of participating artists will be presented at the July Commission meeting. And as we think of 50 years of hip hop, I would like to say that the Commission is moving its posture from simply just being a grantor to organizations that participate in hip hop to actually establishing real relationships with people within that community. Point number 6, agency communications plan. The departments have compiled a master calendar of all agency events and activities for the coming year. This calendar will serve as a foundation for the agency's communications plan going forward to ensure information is distributed in a timely and appropriate manner. When I say events, we mean also internal grants, procurement deadlines, things of that nature, so that as we prepare to bring on a communications director, they will be empowered and have the tools they need to be able to work effectively. The point number 7, this meeting was, we did not have this meeting this morning. We have rescheduled for Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, Ashley. But to give you just a bit of insight on the mental health services, I will be able to give a better update after we meet. But a few years ago during the pandemic, the Office of Cable Television partnered with GWU to offer free and or reduced mental health services with that partnership to creatives here in the district. And so we're looking to explore and maybe expand that opportunity and see how we can, from our standpoint, take advantage of that. To my knowledge, I'm aware of 3 creatives who lost their battles with depression within this calendar year alone. And this is something as someone myself, I'm a true believer in therapy. I am a counselor and therapist myself. And I believe that creatives we must take seriously the mental health and the emotional health, not only by creatives, but those who work in our agencies as well as in art agencies, our organizations throughout the district. This is very important. We must take it, place it as a priority. Point number 8, Mayor's Office of Returning Citizens Affairs. This is something that Lauren in our office has been heading up. CAH is working with the Mayor's Office of Returning Citizens Affairs regarding the intersection of the arts and criminal justice, as well as opportunities for collaborations. A partnership between CAH and MORCA is an opportunity and avenue to expose and transform lives in ways that many may not understand. MORCA Director Lamont Carey notes that the role of art is significant as it has been the calm before, during, and after the storm by providing opportunities for alternative paths to lessen incarceration, I would say, during incarceration. Wait a minute, what do we have here, Jeff? I've got to read this again. For alternative paths to lessen incarnation, during incarnation to find a voice, incarceration, and for reentry, including lessening the cycle of recidivism. More to come over the coming months and into FY24. I would say Director Carey came here first. We were excited he chose his artwork for his office. He was very excited about that, but also he himself was able to use art as a way to, after his release, was able to find himself being a productive member of society. And we see that this is a pathway that we can reach out to the population. And what we're trying to do in this particular moment is not have something that is fleeting. Anybody who sits in this seat or anybody who works at the commission, this program is designed to support them. So that is not something that is just a whim or something that is just a concern of this current director or of Lawrence. We want to make sure that this is going to be long lasting. Now, number 9, we'll talk about the 2024 budget. As many of us read in the paper and have seen through emails, I want to commend our staff, Chairman Van Lee, for helping us lead the charge with the chairman of the council as far as what we needed to advocate for on our behalf. So here are some of the key points. Restricted growth of the agency's annual budget through FY 2027. A number of agencies with dedicated revenues had similar restrictions imposed in order to compensate for budget shortfalls post-pandemic. Now, I would say before our conversations, this shortfall was in perpetuity. After our conversations, this was limited to 2027 with the option of next year to even have a space to be in front of the situation and then to activate around finding solutions around it. Our goal here is to do always to be equitable with the funds that we're giving. But if we are going to participate with the city's revitalization plans, we should also be benefiting from that so our artists can benefit from that in an equitable manner. And so that's the first point. Because of the budget, we have adjusted agency budget allocations. Now, and I believe in the grants update, some of those allocations will be outlined. We would like you to understand that we are still waiting on our confirmed numbers because we saw some numbers this week that were not quite what we had seen. And the discrepancy is, I don't believe anything nefarious. It's some of the numbers that were in the report were finalized and passed, and they were not done so in relation to us bringing down the $5 billion now into the budget as we advocated for. So if you see a change in those numbers, we will be able to have that information for you in the future. Our third point, new large capital project grants. CAH will issue rules to set forth eligibility and disbursement requirements in addition to the council requirements. This has been a place of contention. And as an independent agency, to the chairman's opening statements, we now have the ability to advocate for ourselves. And this is something that the chairman of the council did come down to our offices and speak with us at first about, and we did raise our strong concerns at that point in time. We then raised them again a few weeks ago, the week of the day or two before the final vote. What I will say to this is that one of the compromises in this particular situation is that we, the commission, will set forth the rules in which these types of grants will be able to be set forth. That means we can look at the diversity of boards. We can look at the diversity of the population that are being served. We can look at the diversity of programming. What we were able to do is to ensure that the people who would receive these grants would not be seen as set apart from the rest of those who receive grants, but they are part of the cohort altogether. And so I believe that we now will be moving into the posture of understanding what are the qualifications that we want to see for people who are going to, organizations who will take advantage of this particular model. And I can say, I believe strongly that with the rules set in an equitable and with the intention of making sure that it's outreaching within the community, that the people who take advantage of this grant may not look like the folks they thought were going to take advantage of it to begin with. But we want to make sure that the commission remains a commonplace so that everyone understands there's a place in the ecosystem for everyone. There's no us versus anybody. We are all here at the table together, and that's our goal. The last thing is GOS awards to organizations with an annual operating budget exceeding $115,000 may not exceed 50% of the organization's annual operating budget, exclusive to district funds. What I will say to this, when we were first given this proposed budget, the 50% covered all of the organizations, regardless of their budgets. And what we did overnight, in a sense, we started to see which organizations would be most negatively impacted by this. And what we saw were the organizations that were had operating budgets under $250,000 would be negatively impacted. And so we began our lobbying in the sense to the council on behalf of those organizations. And we presented to the chairman, both the chairman and I, the testimonies from those organizations. And we also presented their council members, their names, so they would know who would be impacted. Councilmember Zachary Parker, Matthew Fruman worked to negotiate with the chairman a compromise of for those organizations that were under $115,000 would not be negatively impacted by this. But there's a piece of key language here that we will need to start now advocating on behalf for next year that says may not exceed 50% of the organization's annual operating budget exclusive of district funds. Now, this little piece of information, this is the piece that we were trying to have put into the amendment, but it did not make it. That means that if an organization may get money from other agencies throughout the district for other things, well, when we look at how we're going to be awarding the GOS money, that money must also be considered and then excluded. And so as we begin our plan for next year, we should continue to do what we had been doing, but more so in an intentional way to share with our constituents and our council members the work and the good work that's happening with our grantees throughout the year. And then as we approach next year, we'll be able to present the commission a plan and our grantees a plan so that we can be good advocates for them throughout this process. I will say, after being a part of the artistic community and after wanting a commission that was working at maximum capacity, I have watched over the years as powers that be, and I say powers that be because the only power I've had is speaking truth to power through my music, use this particular agency as a political football. And I want to let our grantees know, and just to reiterate with our commissioner, is that we're not fighting anybody. We're doing the right thing. We are fighting for right. And we are going to ensure that the rights of our grantees are put first and foremost. And we will continue that energy throughout the course of this year and throughout the course of next year. Budget seasons come around every year. There are a lot of things thrown around and said. But one thing remains true is that it's the music and it's the art that we produce here that speaks truth to power. We continue to do that. The last thing I will say.
And when can we come?
Yes, after number 10, we can,
Okay.
yes, ma'am. Number 10, commissioners, on behalf of the staff, I'd like to extend our appreciation to outgoing commissioners Maggie FitzPatrick, Bernice Floyd, Stacey Lee Banks, and Maria Rooney. Rooney. Mariah, I'm sorry, Rooney, for your time, energy, and dedication in service to the district. You will be missed. The Council of the District of Columbia Committee of the Whole will hold a public roundtable on June 30th to receive testimony from the public as to the fitness of the new and returning commission nominees for appointment. The roundtable will be conducted via Zoom and broadcast live on the DC Council's website beginning at 10 a.m. And we're also doing outreach to the mayor's office so that we may have 4 more additional commissioners so that we'll be on par with what has been written out. Additional information is included in this meeting's material. I'm sorry it was so long. Yes, we can open up for comment now.
Before that. That was both a mouthful and an earful. Oh, thank you. So Corey, you had a question? Comment?
I appreciate all the work, and I was definitely a part of it.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm embarrassed that there's a cap, and so are people out there. So by next year, when we're talking about budgets, we may not need that because there are some inequities and some unfairness. And I think in some cases, from what I've been told, some legal issues with how we are being pressured by the chairman of the city council to tell us how to spend the money. If we're independent, we should be independent. The mayor doesn't interfere, and she appoints all of us. Why is Phil Mendelson playing with us about how we get money to his friends? I'm putting this on record. We should not have a cap. I don't think that's fair, and I think it might not even be legal. And there have been people on this commission who have worked with that process, but it's enough of that. We have fought. I spent many days calling, talking, saying, why am I doing all of this? Why every budget time we got to fight with the chairman of the city council about how we decide to spend money? There's something wrong with this, and we've tolerated it. You all have sat there and gone through the process and done everything you should do professionally. The commission, at least some of the commission members, have worked as advocates. I spent a lot of my my social and my political capital with the council members that I have, that I really need that capital for other things. You know, you can only go to them so many times, and I'm always fighting about the inequities and unfairness of what goes on with this money. These people are being told directly, you don't need that much money. You can't handle that much money. That's too much money for you. By whose standards? And I'm sick of it. But I was gonna let it go because I'm tired. The commission is a heavy lift. So I can't fight every battle, but the people from outside are looking at legal consequences, looking at other things. I'm not gonna get into all of it. And I'm supporting it because we need to stop this. You give us this job, you commit, we commit to this job, we sit there, we do a good job, the staff works with us, we determine who gets money and why by their merits, by their work, with their determination, with their consistency and all of those things. And now we're being told, our judgment is not enough. They're just, the people on this level can't get for so much money. And that's just not right. So I'm going on record to say I'm not, and a lot of people out there in the community are not going to wait till the next budget time to address the unfairness and inequity of what this really means, which is let my people go. Leave the commission to do their job. They don't need to be micromanaged and tricked and badgered and bullied and pressured to do what you need to do with the money so you can pay some political debts. I'm tired of it.
Well, I cannot speak for the other commissioners, but from my perspective, you're singing to the choir. So we will do what we can as a collective body. And I think the point I was going to make about your report is the two notable things are, first, you notice how artist-centric the work is.
That's right.
That's so important. It's not to say we would never artist-centric report, but it is overwhelmingly artist-centric. So that's important. And the other thing is this budget advocacy and how we mobilize people in a way, to my understanding, this agency hasn't done before. So I think that mobilization is what we need to continue until we get to exactly where we need to be. We're closer than we would have been, but we still have a ways to go.
I agree. And if there's any data and any support that we can offer, and this is public information to anyone who wants information on this process, on how this has impacted us, we stand at the ready to support you and to support this effort. And we must support it because there are examples in other jurisdictions, in other states, where when you don't use this level of advocacy, the money and the support is taken away. And that means that you have to really be steadfast in this. And I have the utmost, most respect, faith in the capabilities of our commissioners and of our staff. And then when you see the work like we've seen today by the people who presented to us, of those both who've been supported by us and those who have not yet received our support but are still doing the work, I think it's important that we not only look at the chairman, we look at the entirety of the council and remind the council that their constituents are doing the work already. And they have charged us with certain duties, and we're carrying out those duties the right way. And I believe that Chairman Van Lee and myself had the opportunities to speak with Phil Mendelson and to share that we do share two separate worldviews. The chairman is on record before the press stating that he did not believe that an influx of money, he believed that an influx of money to smaller nonprofits would create a sense of government dependability, while at the same time advocating for some more money to be given to some other organizations. And I say that not to create a type of rift between us and them or anything of that nature. I say that as a matter of fact that the Anacostia Arts Center needs the Kennedy Center just as much as the Kennedy Center needs the Anacostia Arts Center. It is our goal to make sure that all organizations are trying to train and cultivate artists, artisans, and audiences. And we need the audiences all the way out in Ward 4 on the other end, on the end of Ward 7, to be cultivated and brought to the fold, just as we need the ones in Ward 1, 2, anywhere else. There's no one against anybody, and the commission will set the standard. So anyone who needs information, needs data, we set at the ready to support from an equitable standpoint.
Yeah, Chairman. Director Myers, I just wanted to thank you because I have heard from many artists in the community since you've begun in your role the significant feeling of engagement, of being seen, of being honored. And so I think the outreach that you and the staff are doing is having an impact. And it's what we'd always had hoped would happen. So I just want to commend you for that and thank you for it. I guess the other thing I would say is that, you know, just reacting to what you just said, the notion that providing grants to artists as some kind of dependence or welfare is troubling to me. And it is also troubling that in the nation's capital, where we pride ourselves on inclusivity, on advocacy, on human rights, on progressive politics, that we're putting in place institutional barriers that preclude people from being empowered and from having their work lifted up. And so I, like Chairman Van Lee, am concerned by those institutional barriers, particularly when we work so hard for multiple years on a commission-led task force to make sure that we were eroding all institutional barriers that we thought were racist and that were impeding people from fully realizing all of the treasures of the District of Columbia. So I share with you the concern, and I think it's disappointing that we have to call on artists to have a coalition to advocate for their own rights when those rights should exist already.
Well, I just want to add to that. Let me just do the other half of the dependency. I think it's hilarious. You have these major groups who think that they ought to have a place automatically in our budgets. Most of their big things depend on money from the Arts Commission. Now, who's dependent? And they feel entitled to have it. So this is really funny. You're telling me that the groups that are growing and trying to do better couldn't get more money because they may become independent. And you got these organizations that are big national organizations who are begging us every year, which is okay. But don't act like it's only this group of people. That's just not right. It's not fair.
I mean, I'll say again, I think amongst ourselves, we're singing to the choir. But it is clear, as Aaron said, there are those that are philosophically orthogonal to that. And it's almost religious. If we say, we bring our data and they just feel a different way. I think that we have to keep the advocacy going. I think we have to mobilize the people that will help us have the voice that we deserve. I think that this independent status needs to be real, not imagined. And I'm about the artists, period.
And Maggie said that we have to go to the artist for what she doesn't know, or maybe you don't know, the artists are coming to us. They're saying, what can we do? This is not fair. We've got this thing going, we're moving on up, and now, with like 2 years of glory, and then all of a sudden, bam, there's a cap. And it may not have the significance that they think it has, but it just symbolically is a depressing thing for them to hear that. It's like, oh, I got my hopes up and now it's being dashed. So I'm just saying, it's a real pain out there and we don't have to tell them, they know it.
But know that the commission and the staff are committed to doing the right thing.
And thank you to all the commissioners, and you especially, reached out to their contacts, sent emails, made phone calls, and really tried to problem solve and negotiate and taking out of your time. And it's important for the public to be reminded that our commissioners are not paid. This is a labor of love and duty they feel to this particular mission. So I want to thank them, and then also thank the staff during this time who was trying to compile data and information. And I want to thank those artists who took time to email and to get us the information we needed so that we can present a solid case for you. Now, what we have, and I remember the first time I ever testified in support of trying to get more money for the commission. I think the budget was somewhere around $15 to $18 million, around that amount. And I must say that we can do some good work with the budget that we have here. We're going to do some good work, and I say we, I mean the community overall. But please know, next year we're going to get where we need to be with your help. There we go. Thank you.
Anything else? That's all.
Yes, actually, I just wanted to add,
Good. I love the energy.
if it's okay,
So
I
let's
just wanted
go
to,
on to the.
hey, Reggie,
I'm sorry.
can you hear me, Reggie?
Oh, Natalie, I'm sorry.
Chairman Lee? Yeah, I just wanted to add, I don't want to keep rehashing, but I agree with everything that's been said, including that we are speaking to the choir, but this is a public meeting, and I think this is the time. I think the bigger thing is it really calls into question just the whole, like, what are we doing here? Are we not setting policy? We have these artists who are lining up to testify, who believe that this is the process to be able to win fair and square grant support. And, when they can just simply go to the chairman of the city council and then he can make laws to benefit the 20 organizations that he's been trying to benefit for in recent memory, it really creates a lot of cynicism. People believe, I heard from people saying that this is a long storied process of the Arts Commission just being a slush fund for these elite organizations. And it, once again, there's a cynicism that sort of sets in around that. And I just want to underscore what Cora said, which is that we will not be waiting until next year. Obviously, the political solution to this failed. So maybe there isn't a political solution to this. Maybe there are other solutions. And we have a lot of very, very smart people, a lot of very capable advocates who are exploring other solutions, because this is really ridiculous. When you go through a process, you ask thousands of people, fill out surveys, we hear from people, they say they want more equity. We changed the rules fair and square. We didn't do it to benefit certain organizations. We did it to invest in the future artists and future arts organizations that are creating the art forms of the future. And to have that compromised, I just think that, in this case, if we don't nip this in the bud now, it's just going to keep getting worse. And so it is my intention. I do not appreciate having my time wasted. I am a volunteer. I donate my time to working on this. And I believe that we're here to set policy for arts for the District of Columbia. And that's what I intend to do. Anyway, we're preaching to the choir, but I just wanted to just put that on record, is that there are many, many smart people who are looking for a permanent solution to this. And that is what we will be focusing on. So thank you.
It might be helpful. I see it.
There she is.
Guys hear me?
Yes,
Okay. Sorry, I think I lost connection. Are we ready for the finance report?
yes, you're on cover.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Good evening. Just echo the appreciation to the commissioners that are transitioning off. So just wanted to say thank you to everybody. It's been an honor to hear me.
Go on, Kymber.
Okay. All right. So we have two areas on the finance committee report. I'm going to provide the report, and I'm sure Brian will add any additional commentary color that we need to have. So if you're looking at your finance budget balance report, page 1 of this report provides us with an update sort of on where we are year to date from a sense of the totals. So you'll see that we have a total of about 6.5 million, or about 14% of our budget that remains available for spending, with just over 25% of the fiscal year remaining. CAH has several planned expenditures in the admin section of the budget. These include agency space renovations, agency-wide equipment upgrades, several recruiting actions, partnership with DSLBD for its annual Art All Night, the Labor Day Weekend Festival that we heard earlier in the director's report. If you move to page 2 of the grant budget balances, based on the remaining funding, CAH is in the process of creating the enhancement packages. The grants committee is going to provide us with an update and more information in their reports around this. One item to note regarding the proposed budget enhancements is that these funds are subject to the successful reprogramming between the cohorts and subject to DC Council approval. So we'll hear more about that in just a few minutes from the grants committee. Anything else on that section on the budget balance report, Brian, that you want to add?
I would just open it up to any questions.
Okay. Any questions before we move to the FY24 proposed budget?
Any questions? I don't know if other commissioners had a chance to look at the numbers. I've studied them at the hustle. With perhaps others, questions, comments, concerns?
I don't see it.
Looking down the table.
It's,
What
not-
tab is
It's
it?
not after.
no, it's,
That's what I was looking for, not after.
it's red, white, and blue.
Well, I was looking for the color.
We'll go on to 24 and we can come back to this if there are questions.
Okay, we'll keep going and then come back. You can. So on FY24, the budget is in the final approval phase before submission to Congress. So FY24 CH increased the budget by 2.7%, or 5.3 million, so just a little bit over that. The main areas of increase are increase in staffing from 38 to 45 the FTEs, an increase in our grant section of the budget from 37 million to 42.172 million. And CH continues to exceed the legislative threshold percentages. So their revised thresholds have no more than 20% being allocated to the admin section of the budget, and no less than 80% of the total budget being allocated to the grants section. The FY24 budget is formulated using a 17 and 83% admin grants ratio. So the grant committee will provide us some additional information regarding the grants section of the budget. That concludes our report. Brian, anything you'd like to add? Or we're available to answer any questions.
Just will add that some of the information that Kymber is sharing this evening is through talking points that we cultivated together ourselves and is not part of the package. What was in the finance report to the commissioners was the status on the actual budget for FY23. Just as Kymber stated, we have increased the budget. We've seen some areas where we're taking a little bit more to help the agency in terms of increasing its operations, in terms of bringing more people on to help facilitate getting payments out the door quicker. And we still, despite all of the restrictions and everything else, we still have been able to increase the amount of funding that we're pushing out the door for grants. That may be short-lived, and as Reggie always says, it's subject to the availability of the funding and how much funding we collect. We'll talk a lot more about any kind of legislative, as Director Myers has already spoke upon. There is a cap in terms of the funding that is collected by the agency from the dedicated taxes, but we'll get into that more in future meetings. As Director Myers said, these numbers are not final. The budget has not been transmitted to Congress, to my knowledge.
And is it fair to say that the new stipulations to the legislation will not affect this budget?
I believe that is correct.
That's my understanding. We have to worry about later years, and Natalie's already challenged us not to even wait a year, so that's good. But at this moment, it doesn't affect us negatively. We are able to increase over what we did in previous years. Some of this is coming from the fund balance.
Yes, sir.
And at some point, the fund balance will be depleted. So we only have a certain amount of time to be able to make up the money that we want to give relative to what the legislation will suggest. But for the moment, it seems like we're okay. I think Kymber's making the point is when we continue to spend less on administrative than we are allowed, less than our max, we're able to put more into grants than our minimum requirements. So we're in the good space on those percentages. But if indeed things continue as they are, we become more challenged. So we're fine.
And there, yes, and just to add a little bit of clarity, as far as administrative, as we're preparing, and many of us have been in business, know that you must scale up and you must be able to scale so that you can accept the challenge of being able to give out as many grants as possible. And for those who, being this is a public meeting, last year, I said it before, over 1,400 grants were given. And on Brian's team, you have 2 individuals that process all 1,400 of them. And so it's my goal to increase that particular team. We're adding at least 2 other individuals to that team, Mr. Brian, as he's like, okay, but we're adding 2 more people to that team to help share with that load, as well as we're trying to ensure that our grants department is increased. We're short by 5 people in this moment. So we're trying to replace 5 people, and we're trying to use mechanisms to do that that would not have been, we wouldn't have been hampered by this particular budget to do so. And so that means that for our grantees, for the public, when it's time to have grants issued, if there are problems and issues, we have a quicker turnaround and about being able to help solve them and to communicate with them. And so that the loads will be a bit more appropriate. Stop there.
Anything else on finance? Brian, Kymber? If not, we'll go to grants. Gretchen.
Good evening, everyone. As you know, at the end of each fiscal year, and we are almost there, it ends the September 30th, we generally have extra money, and that money is basically given to our grantees as enhancements. Unfortunately, this year, we have less money to give. In 2022, we had about 10 million. We actually only have about 2 million at this point. And we met with the staff and the respective grants committee. And our recommendation was to do GOS enhancements, capacity building program enhancements, and humanities DC enhancement. And that's based on a number of things. Number one, because the budget has gone down for what we can spend right now in terms of enhancements. And we have less staff, as everyone's just talked about, to push out these enhancements. That coupled with the fact that we still have some issues with CFO. and the CFO, the Chief Financial Officer, in terms of getting the monies out. We have spent a lot of time, and when I say we, I mean the staff and especially Brian and his group, just trying to get our grantees paid. And we still have some hangups in the system that we can't get around. So our recommendation is that we give enhancements for GOS, capacity building, and humanities. We talked about in the grants committee meeting, and that's our recommendation to the full committee. In terms of communication strategies update, JR is not here, but he's done a fabulous job. And he's really done a lot of outreach to the community, engaging with council members, offices, with the ANCs, sister agencies, community events, lots of community events. That's something we weren't able to do previously, and I'm really, really pleased because we're seeing CAH all over the place right now. And we're still identifying places, ways to reach places of worship. So if any of you have ideas, those of you on our call, if you'd like to recommend your minister, your churches, please let us know, send us a note, and we'll hop right on it and make sure that we contact everyone there. Grant application update. The fellowship grant, we have 640, we're still at FY 24 now, moving from 23 to 24. Remember, 24 starts October 1. The fellowship grant, we have 641 applicants, which is 7% increase from FY 23. Projects, events, and festivals, 111 applicants, 54% increase over FY 23. Projects, and that was for individuals. For organizations, for projects, events, and festivals, it's 76 applicants, a 55% increase over FY 23. So as we get the word out, we need more money to give our applicants. We need our grants program really enhanced, and we need to be able to give this money out fairly and not have it dictated to us. The open applications update for 3 of our grants will start very soon, I think in the next week or two. FAB, facilities and buildings, is the one that is not going to be open right now, probably in the next week or two, because we're really going to have some more discussions around what the council is imposing on us. So we're going to work through that one. Budget updates. Council has had a lot of input into the specifics on our budget. We've talked about that. 3 or 4 of the commissioners have talked about that just now. I'm going to let David get into some of the specifics, because it's one thing to talk about how it's affected us at 50,000 feet. But I really want you to know by percentage wise and how that cuts into our money and how we're going to have an inability to give out the money that we need to give out in an equitable manner. David.
Gretchen, I just want to, anybody who's listening in, I just want to reiterate that, we don't want to put people into a tailspin. We will do our best, our very best, to try and maintain where we are and ensure that we don't have this sort of ping-ponging or a roller coaster of grant making. So I assure you we will do whatever we can to do that. The percentages do look a little bit frightening, with GOS dropping from 54% to 47.48%. We do have a larger budget this year, so it sort of solves for it a little bit, but we will be digging into it. The plan is to send an email notification out to all of the GOS applicants this year. Speaking of increases in numbers, we have about 170 GOS or organizations that applied to general operating support this past winter. They were counted in spring. So we have, again, an increased number. There's an additional 10 or 12 organizations in the mix. And the plan is to send the communication out to them later this week, to sort of dig a little bit deeper into what this all means for their grants. And Aaron mentioned the caveat now with district dollars, and so we have not in the past secured that information from applicants. They provide us with their total organizational cash expenses, but we don't ask them the sources of those cash expenses or the revenue associated with the expenses. And so we're going to have to circle back to them and ask them to provide that detail to us so we can make their GOS awards appropriately. All that to say, I know folks are anxious to get their, get a sense of what their GOS award might be for next year. But we'll move through that process as quickly as possible. And my hope is that we can notify them sometime in August. That's all I'll say about that. Spoken on some of the other comments.
Are there any questions?
Questions, comments?
I don't know how many people we have online, probably a large number of them, I hope so. But I certainly hope everyone out there's been listening, not just to what we've said, but what we've asked you to do as our public and as recipients and as champions for making sure that our dollars are awarded in an equitable manner. Thank you.
Questions, comments? Good. And now in her final role as Chair of Public Art Committee, my Vice Chair, Maggie.
Thank you, Chairman Bentley. The first is an announcement about an exhibit that we'll be having in the gallery space. And there's an event commemorating this exhibition on July 6th from 6 to 8 with media, stakeholders, artists, and the general public invited to attend. The exhibition is called Re-Envisioning, and it is focused on who writes history, the questions it asks was who writes history, the victor, the colonizer, the algorithm which controls our digital feeds. This exhibition brings together 6 artists to present work that re-examine stories that have historically defined our collective consciousness and are often used to justify discriminatory biases and systems. Seems like a very apropos topic. Again, that event is on July 6th from 6 to 8 in the gallery space, and the grantee curators are Nicole Dowd and Allison Nance. And their focus is on the work of 6 artists. Anything that you'd like to add, Lauren?
No, so this is the art exhibition grant. It means we received a grant from us to do the exhibition in the gallery. We had some delay this year, which is why the gallery's been empty. So they started moving in the artwork today and we'll begin installing tomorrow. And it'll take them all week to get everything together in anticipation of this event. There will be a special invitation coming out from the director and the chairman, inviting the commissioners to attend this, as well as sending it out to the council members and other people in the mayor's office as well. So we hope that people can come. I know some of you have been concerned about the gallery being empty, but we have a lot of exciting things planned for it. And so we're kicking it off right now this summer.
I was going to say, do make that point that our goal is to have the gallery open as much as possible.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, and thank you, Lauren and the team, for all the good work in preparation for the exhibition. The second item is on the FY24 grant, just an update. The FY24 Jewelry Exhibition grant, the exhibition dates January 12th through March 1st, 2024. This grant is in recognition of the 60th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. This exhibition will reflect on the landmark legislation and how DC artists have been influenced both explicitly and implicitly by the social progress and reforms of the last 60 years. This landmark legislation aims to prohibit discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. By exploring this significant milestone, the exhibition seeks to provide insight into the progress, challenges, and ongoing efforts toward achieving equity and social justice. So I'd like to pause, and if I could turn to Lauren and just provide a few further updates on the grant.
So similar to a project that we had last year, this is a juried program, and we have 5 marvelous jurors who will be reviewing all the artwork that's going to be submitted. Their names are in your report and includes a curator who had an art exhibition grant award in 2018 and other both emerging and established curators and art historians who are part of this panel. So sometime later this evening, 11:59, Jeff, 12:01, there will be an RFA distributed seeking artists to submit artworks for this exhibition. And this jury will review those artworks. And one of the things that's really exciting for me is this will be the first time there's been an exhibition in the gallery focusing on Martin Luther King birthday and Black History Month. And we hope that this is, I wish I was Commissioner, but I've been here 6 years and it hasn't happened. So this year, we're going to have it, and hopefully it's going to be a mainstay. So I am just thrilled beyond beliefs that this is what will happen. So the opening, excuse me.
The panel. Said the jury.
They're here. It's Karen Baker, Fabiola DeGaldo, Malik Lee, Dr. Melanie Harvey, and Andrew Johnson. And they've been involved with working with us in developing this theme, and will be also involved with us as we lay out the exhibition and programming. So we're intending this to be multidisciplinary. The artwork can be the background, but as we know, music was a very important part of that movement and still is. So we're hoping to, have a very robust programming and really intense dialogue and discussion. So we're just excited about doing it. A lot of it, we just have to wait to see what the artwork that is that comes in. As I mentioned, the RFA is going to open sometime later this evening. We have 2 workshops planned for people to learn more about it. The first one being on a Friday. It will close at the end of July, and it will go through the jury paneling and will be presented to the commission at the September commission meeting for an October grant award.
Thank you, Lauren. Before I turn it back over to Chairman Bentley, I just wanted to, since this is my last meeting, I wanted to thank the staff of the commission for all their hard work and their dedication to all of the creative community in the district. I also would like to thank my fellow commissioners for your collaboration and support, and to Chairman Bentley for your strong leadership. And I'd just like to close by saying to the artists who are tuned in and watching that this commission is singularly focused on advocating for you and for the artistic community in the district. And I leave this body with your interest in very good hands. And I also want to thank the mayor for giving me the opportunity to serve for 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you. If I could just do one more thing. So we have Art Bank is closing this week, so we don't have the stats on that, but we are seeing an uptick in some important areas. And the PABC, the Public Art Building Communities Grant, will close in July. So we'll have more updates on whether we're up or down, but we're seeing a lot of exciting things come through.
Thank you. We have one other piece of business. We were going to have 2, and I'll talk briefly about the second after we get to the first. So Jeff, you can comment on where we are with the CAH Foundation.
Yes, so I have some important dates for y'all to consider. So the DC Council will be going on their summer recess from July 15th through September 15th. Their last legislative meeting before the recess will be July 11th, which may be the meeting which the new commissioners and returning commissioners are voted on to be confirmed, most likely since the hearing is on the 30th. The first legislative meeting after the recess is September 19th. So during this 2-month period while council is on recess, no hearings can be held, no legislation can be introduced. So it's a time that we can work, commissioners and staff can really solidify what we want the mission statement and the purpose of the proposed foundation to be, and working with our general counsel, who will draft up the proposed legislation that we would submit to council when they come back. Any legislation that we submit has to be formally introduced by the chairman of the council. And so this break is also an opportunity to reacquaint Chairman Mendelson with this idea. We spoke to him about it previously, but once we have everything solidified, we can talk to him in greater detail about it so that he's familiar with it. After the legislation is introduced, most likely a public hearing will be held on the bill. If the committee recommends its adoption, its consideration, then it would be voted on twice in 2 separate legislative meetings. So depending on the council's workload in the fall, it's possible that this legislative process could be completed by November or December, just depending if we can get something in September, they get a hearing scheduled by October, and then votes in late October and November is possible, I think. So again, the General Counsel, David Martinez, is available from this initiative, and he'll be following up to schedule additional conversations to get more information on how to solidify the legislation piece of it.
Good. Questions, comments?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
My only concern is that in creating a foundation, which I'm all for it, but there are certain caveats that we kind of need to be aware. Should there be a shortfall in the future, wouldn't the response be, well, look to the foundation to see if they could fund some of these particular programs? And that to me is sort of a well-intended, that it could be interpreted such as, okay, now you're responsible for generating funds that will support the artist community that you so much want to support. So how do we counter that? So it doesn't become a liability rather than something what we have intentions for, and we have to set some guidelines to that so they cannot be used against us.
I mean, this is what Jeff is talking about. We need to be very specific about because we would like for the foundation to be able to help out in difficult times. We don't want everything to then be moved over to that, and the commission feels that we don't have to do anything. So the goal of the foundation is not to put the commission out of work at all. Because we have to be careful if that's going to be right. So you're right.
So
that's honest in that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just a real concern because right now we're getting even judgments by the council as to who should or not get so much money. Well, there's a very quick answer that will come automatically. Well, fund them from that.
Right.
From the funds of the foundation, and that should never be allowed.
Right. Just keep us honest. We hear that concern.
Thank you.
Anything else on the foundation? So I'll just say quickly about that which is being called Art Week at this moment, for lack of a better term. We don't have a full report today. We had a stakeholders meeting in early June that some almost 40 organizations came and were represented. We summarized that information, shared it with those participants, sent out a survey as well. I think we're still receiving the surveys, and we think we'll be better to report on that at July meeting once we've had a chance to consume all the feedback and what it says. But I will say it seemed like a successful meeting to me. People really engaged. People are net positive about the notion of doing something at International Arts Festival like that, with caveats and concerns that have to be addressed as well. So there's a lot of work for us to do, a lot of energy around it as well. So with that, is there any other new business? So, yeah.
I would wish Gretchen a belated happy birthday. That was your song.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if I could add, I very much appreciate, the fact that sometimes we run a little bit behind the eight ball, putting these notes together that come to the commissioners, but I would be very grateful if they were done on a slightly timelier basis that I could get them before. Even if they come in piece by piece as you get them so that we have time to consume them. I'm not really thrilled about coming in and learning about certain things that I had not had an opportunity to read, digest, or be able to intelligently comment on. And I find myself that I enjoy reading these things simply because I want to be in the know, and I loathe being not involved when I come to these meetings.
So let's set a goal. What is reasonable from the staff standpoint and desirable from the commissioner standpoint of how many days in advance of this meeting do we need to get? Since the meeting's on Monday, you can get it on Friday, right?
Well, fair, at least it gives us a weekend. 5 days would be ideal, but I understand that sometimes it has to come piecemeal, and it's okay because things evolve. You get new opportunities that you must address, but it is better to be able to read it and to be part of it so that you can actually give input as needed. So I would appreciate that. Another thing too.
Well, let me close on that.
Yeah.
So let's target the Wednesday before the Monday meeting, but no later than the Friday before the Monday meeting. If we can get in the Wednesday to Friday, so it gives people a chance to.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Make note of that to make sure that happens.
Okay. And another thing is, I enjoy my opportunities of interacting with the team you have a fantastic team. And there are certain new people that come on board, and I just by chance happened to meet one today. And Andrea Brown, who I was so gratified to meet because that's a much needed position to be filled. I like the interaction, and consequently, I would love to be able to meet with them, even if it's at these meetings, but also I think it's important for us to feel very much part of coming in, but we don't want to come in, I don't want to come in invading time. I want to be sort of invited, come in, let's see what is a good time for you to come in and meet and deal with the team that you have. And also for their participation in these meetings whenever possible, but at the same time, being fair, that they already have a long schedule, so they don't have to come in early in the morning and still do their work and stay 12 hours a day, but give them the opportunity to come in, participate, so it doesn't infringe on their personal time. I would be very much welcoming of that. I think that each and every one of us could benefit greatly by our interaction with them, and I just simply want to say this, hopefully you'll consider that, and that we'll have an opportunity to meet more of them.
Well, I was going to suggest, hope this doesn't annoy you, but now has the connection point of contact with the commissioners. Perhaps she can help us facilitate the right time, the right way for us to come in so that it is net positive for everybody. It's not intrusive, it also allows us to connect. So why don't we, Andy, if you're listening, we'd like to put that on your plate.
Thank you. Bless you. And all the commissioners should have heard from Adia throughout this. I hope you all heard from her and received information about the grantees that are within your wards. And if you've not, please let me know so that she has the right email address for you all.
I'm just kidding.
They should send it to
Yeah, they should send both emails.
And by the way, I don't exist in the system, so I've been dealing with the city in October to get me back into, because they can't find me and I haven't existed for a while. So
There being no further business. The next meeting of the commission will be held Monday, July 24th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. The time is now 7:08 p.m. and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, Mariah, Maggie, Stacy, Robert, you got high.
Good job. Very well done.
So where we going to read? I've been looking so much.
By the way, I think you gave me this a lot of time. I just brought it in. I like mine better. You're gonna keep